today, Maria Lista, we are here today to discuss one of the effects of this pandemic to the academic life of the students. So, in line with that, we have invited our guest for today. But let me introduce her to you. She graduated from the Batangas State University and she took her bachelor degree in psychology. She had practiced her job for 2 years and she worked as a guidance counselor in a learning school. But right now, she had seen her passion from facilitating students into freelancing. However, she's going to share with us her thoughts to students especially at this time. Therefore, we come to invite and talk with us the paradigm of the student with this pandemic. Please greet our viewers.
Okay, so hi, I'm Sofia. Welcome to everyone. And mabuhay po tayo.
Okay, before we deep into the questions, I'd like to thank you for your kindly response in my invitation.
Okay, no worries. It's totally fine.
Oh, how are you? Okay, what have you been doing since we have hit the pandemic?
As you have mentioned already, I shifted to freelancing, and I used to work at school before, but since we hit the pandemic, I'm also helping our parents run their business.
So from being a guidance counselor for 2 years, particularly in school, you have transferred into freelancing, right? What attracted you into freelancing?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities in there, and it's my passion. And there are some good outcomes when it comes to travel and work from home, which is less hassle, right?
I think that's definitely right. But would you mind sharing with us your thoughts to students' academic life or their problem they met? I think, well, since you graduated from a school of psychology, let's talk deep about it. I knew the fact that most of the students or all people were affected psychologically or mentally in a certain degree, right? So here's your formal question. What are the effects of this COVID-19 pandemic, particularly to the academic life of our students?
Well, a lot of people were affected by the pandemic, and I mean all people. At first, most of the people find it hard or difficult to cope during this time, and especially during the rapid cases in 2019 to 2020, we do not know much about the virus. So the medical field is looking and researching, and a lot of people are alarmed. Well, all of us are alarmed, and I think not only the medical field is affected, but also those who are in the business, economic, and education sector.
Yeah, that's right. We have found out that the elderly people were in prone or trouble in that. So, and those who had certain illnesses. But going back to the questions, what are the actions of our local institution, especially the Department of Education?
I think the students were nice for their part, but there are some hindrances that students have observed. Some students are actively participating in online classes and some others are not, which is pretty common even if it's not pandemic. And the teachers cannot see what the students are doing behind their computers, but there's a lot of things on the better side as well. And the school were instructed by the government to conduct a face-to-face learning.
What are the actions of our local institution, especially to students, by the Department of Education?
Well, I think the schools are very initiative, or they have a lot of initiative on that. We have partaken and survived to see the possible means to cope with the academy of our students. I think that they have released an alternative ways on how we could continue our studies despite of the pandemic. And we call it flexible learning, where the students rely most of their learning into digital and module form, right? And so using the internet becomes an alternative way on how our students will cope up with these times.
Would you mind to describe on us how it works?
First, the Department of Education have announced a kind of learning where the students remain at their homes but they keep learning at the same time. So we do not diminish their academic life despite of the troubles, but we cope immediately to address and settle this point of situation.
Very well said. Now, how about the psychological effects to our students? Do you have any possible outcomes to the life of the students?
Well, based on the studies, students have been working hard to reach and understand this kind of situation that they're facing in their lives. But I think those in their 40s or over or above were deeply affected by anxiety and depression at this point. But since the advent of the digital age, like the internet, smartphones, and the likes, students become more engaged than ever in technology. So we have to use them to reach our students.
How this innovation help our students?
Well, I think most of the time it's fun and it secures our children in a way because they have, or we have to lessen the physical contact.
Yes, that I think that's true. Could you give us an example of the common problems of our student in this digital age?
Well, not so much for the students, unlike most of their subjects were taught but not in the physical activities. We're guaranteed to work because of the situation. Therefore, the facilitator or the teachers should think of ways or create something where the students can have physical learning even at their home.
What do you mean by that?
We have physical activities, right? But the exposure of students to some activities cannot be compared to what it is before. So there are several areas that is not much feasible during this time.
Well, there's no any more question. I think let's call it a day, ma'am. Before we end, what's your final message to our viewers and to students who are watching right now?
Okay, so there's time for everything, right? I believe that everything is going to take place. Everything's happening for a reason. To our students, just keep on studying smart. And to our parents, thank you so much for helping us during these difficult times. Just continue cherishing your time with your family right now and find your passions, cherish them, and that's it.
Alright. Thank you for having us for today, ma'am. In conclusion, we have discussed the effects of the COVID-19 among the students. So I would like to end you by quoting that we must keep learning and learn new things. We must, because knowledge is power. So once again, I would like to state my name. I am Jonas Obispo. See you next time.